There is a quality in certain people, a quietness that does not seek attention yet receives it effortlessly. When a woman carries this type of presence, she does not enter a room loudly. She does not announce her worth, and she does not push for validation. Instead, she moves with a subtle inner stillness that alters the atmosphere around her. This stillness is not passive. It is not emptiness. It is the result of self-awareness cultivated over time, and it becomes a force that others instinctively feel. Men, in particular, recognize this quality immediately because it speaks a language beyond words, a language of groundedness, self-possession, and emotional completeness. Inner stillness begins with self-understanding. When a woman knows who she is, what she values, and what she refuses to compromise, her mind becomes quieter. The need to prove herself fades. The urge to react impulsively dissolves. She no longer searches for identity in the reflections of others. She carries her identity within. This is why stillness commands recognition. It reflects mastery of the inner world in a society where most people are overwhelmed by their own thoughts, fears, and insecurities. Stillness is rare, and rarity draws attention without effort. A woman who carries stillness has learned the art of observing her emotions instead of being overwhelmed by them. She does not suppress her feelings, but she does not allow them to dictate her behavior. When she experiences frustration, she pauses before responding. When disappointment touches her, she breathes through it instead of collapsing into reaction. When someone attempts to provoke her, she does not fall into the trap of emotional chaos. This emotional sobriety is powerful because it creates predictability and calm. Men sense this instantly because it makes her energy feel safe, steady, and trustworthy. Inner stillness also shows up in the way she moves. She is not rushed. She does not hurry through conversations or force outcomes. She listens fully, not because she wants to impress, but because she is genuinely present. Presence is a form of respect, both for herself and for others. A woman who is truly present makes people feel seen, heard, and grounded simply by being there. Men who often struggle to articulate their internal experiences feel a sense of relief in her presence. Her steadiness becomes a mirror that encourages them to settle into themselves. Another dimension of stillness is the absence of the need to dominate or control. Many people attempt to assert power through volume, demands, or displays of authority. But stillness is a different type of power, one that comes from the confidence of not needing to force anything. She trusts timing. She trusts truth. She trusts her own intuition. This trust becomes visible in her decisions, her boundaries, and the way she handles conflict. She is not afraid of silence, because silence is where she gains clarity. And clarity always commands recognition. Inner stillness also refines her boundaries. A woman who is at peace with herself does not engage in battles that drain her energy. She does not chase people who leave, nor does she cling to situations that disrupt her balance. Stillness teaches her that holding on tightly is a sign of fear, while letting go is a sign of strength. When she chooses peace over drama, she signals to others that she values her inner world far more than the chaos around her. And this is something men notice immediately. They recognize a woman who cannot be easily shaken, manipulated, or overwhelmed. Her stillness becomes a shield without aggression, a form of strength without noise. Furthermore, stillness gives her a unique kind of confidence. Not the loud, performative confidence that seeks constant praise, but a quiet confidence that speaks through the way she carries herself. She does not compare herself to others. She does not need to outshine anyone. Her confidence is internal, rooted in truth rather than illusion. When a woman possesses this kind of confidence, men instinctively adjust the way they interact with her. They become more respectful, more thoughtful, and more aware of their own behavior. Her stillness raises the standard around her without requiring a single word. This inner stillness is also deeply connected to her sense of purpose. When a woman knows why she wakes up in the morning, when she has direction in her life, she is not easily distracted by noise, opinions, or superficial pursuits. Her purpose anchors her. It gives her a sense of meaning that cannot be affected by temporary setbacks or external judgments. Men recognize this too. Purpose is magnetic because it shows that she is not lost, not confused, not seeking identity through relationships. She walks with intention, and intention creates respect. Ultimately, inner stillness is a discipline. It is something she chooses every day by returning to herself, observing her thoughts, slowing her reactions, and maintaining harmony within. This discipline shapes her energy in a way that others feel immediately. Men may not be able to explain it, but they sense that she is different. They sense that she is not operating from the same emotional turbulence that governs so many others. They sense that she has something they cannot shake, something they cannot ignore, something that commands their respect the moment they meet her. There is a certain power that moves ahead of a woman before she says a single word. It is not loud, not aggressive, not something she announces. It is her boundaries, silent signals that shape how others treat her, how men respond to her, and how her presence is interpreted long before she opens her mouth. Boundaries are a form of energy. They are communicated not through speeches or explanations, but through behavior, reactions, choices, and the standards she holds for herself. Boundaries, in their truest form, speak long before language ever enters the room. A woman's boundaries begin with what she allows, what she tolerates, what she entertains. People can sense her standards through the smallest interactions, whether she lets disrespect slide, whether she laughs off something that hurt her, whether she allows inconsistency, or whether she meets silence with silence. The psychology behind this is simple. Humans learn from the responses they receive. And when a woman responds with clarity rather than chaos, with firmness rather than fear, men adjust instinctively. Boundaries are often misunderstood as walls, something rigid or unkind. But true boundaries are not about closing the world out. They are about letting the right things in. They are about honoring one's inner peace without apology. When a woman has healthy boundaries, she does not have to argue for respect. She does not have to negotiate her worth. She shows it in how she removes herself from energies that do not align with her. She shows it in how she does not chase after what is walking away. She shows it in how she refuses to overextend herself just to be chosen. Men recognize these signals far more quickly than many realize. A woman may think she needs to communicate her standards verbally, but her actions already speak them. For example, when she does not reply instantly to someone who only reaches out when it is convenient for them, she communicates that her time is valuable. When she does not accept excuses disguised as explanations, she communicates that accountability matters to her. When she does not entertain inconsistency, she communicates that she values reliability. Each of these moments sends a ripple through the dynamic before she ever expresses a boundary out loud. Boundaries also shape the emotional atmosphere around her. A woman who lacks boundaries often radiates anxiety, fear of loss, or the desperation to be accepted. But a woman who holds steady in her standards radiates calm. She is not afraid of rejecting or being rejected. She is not afraid of walking away. She is grounded in her truth, and this steadiness forms the foundation of how others show up in her presence. Men sense this calmness and instinctively approach her with more intention, more respect, and more clarity. There is also a deep psychological element to boundaries. They reveal how much she values herself. A woman with strong self-worth naturally creates boundaries without effort. She does not feel guilt for saying no. She does not think twice before stepping away from dysfunctional patterns. She does not tolerate energy that drains her or connections that diminish her spirit. Her self-worth is visible in her ability to stay aligned with who she is, not in her willingness to bend for others. Men see this clearly. A woman who values herself becomes someone they value instantly. Boundaries shape conversations too. A woman who has them does not allow her emotions to be dismissed. She does not listen to half commitments. She does not entertain mixed signals as if they are clarity. She brings a level of maturity into her communication that sets the tone for how the other person must respond. When she speaks with intention. When she listens with discernment. When she sets a limit, she does so without hostility. And because her boundaries are expressed calmly, people understand that they are non-negotiable. Boundaries are also intertwined with the way she invests her time. She does not give unlimited access to those who have not earned it. She does not open her world to people who have shown carelessness. She protects her energy because she knows that not everyone is meant to stay. Time is one of her clearest boundaries, and how she spends it is a reflection of her priorities. Men quickly realize that being part of her world is a privilege, not a guarantee. Another aspect is emotional boundary setting. A woman with boundaries does not absorb everyone's problems. She does not take responsibility for emotions that are not hers. She does not lose herself trying to save others. Instead, She knows where she ends and where another person begins. This emotional clarity is powerful because it frees her from relationships that rely on imbalance or dependency. Men recognize this independence as strength, not distance. Boundaries also shape her expectations, not unrealistic demands, but the simple belief that mutually respectful behavior is the foundation of connection. A woman who has clear expectations is not asking for too much, she is simply refusing too little. And men instantly feel this difference. Expectations rooted in self-respect guide the dynamic naturally, without tension or conflict. Ultimately, boundaries are a silent language. They are expressed through posture, tone, reactions, and choices. They shape the way others approach her before she speaks a word. A woman's boundaries create the blueprint for how she is treated. They define the quality of her connections, the depth of her relationships, and the level of respect she receives. And the most powerful part is that she does not need to demand anything. Her boundaries speak first, and they speak with a clarity that no one can ignore. There is a quiet, enduring power in consistency that many overlook. In a world driven by impulse, distractions, and shifting emotions, consistency becomes a rare form of discipline. And when a woman embodies it, she stands apart immediately. Her strength is not revealed through intensity, but through steadiness. Not through loud declarations, but through reliable patterns of thought, behavior, and intention. Consistency becomes her signature, a reflection of her inner order, and men recognize this long before they understand why they feel drawn to her presence. Consistency is not perfection. It is not an attempt to control every outcome or predict every moment. Instead, it is the ability to remain centered across changing circumstances. A consistent woman is not reactive. She does not crumble in chaos nor become inflated in praise. Her identity is not shaped by temporary emotions. She responds rather than reacts, and she moves through life with a measured rhythm that reflects both awareness and discipline. This steadiness creates trust. People, especially men, instinctively gravitate toward what feels predictable and reliable. Not predictable in the sense of boring or repetitive, but predictable in the sense that her character does not shift with the weather. If she values honesty today, she values it tomorrow. If she sets a boundary, she upholds it. If she loves with intention rather than impulse. This stability communicates strength because it shows that her emotions do not govern her identity, nor do external events dictate her self-worth. Consistency also reveals how deeply she understands herself. A woman who is consistent has done the inner work of identifying her priorities, her principles, and her path. She is not pulled in 100 directions by trends, opinions, or momentary desires. She does not alter herself to fit into different environments. Whether she is speaking to a stranger or someone she cares deeply for, she remains aligned with her truth. This alignment creates a sense of wholeness within her. Men feel this wholeness immediately. It is reflected in her tone, her boundaries, her pace, and her decisions. Another dimension of consistency is emotional reliability. Many can be loving for a week, patient for a day, or focused for an hour. But consistency transforms these qualities into habits. A consistent woman does not offer warmth only when it is convenient. She does not show respect only when she is in a good mood. She does not practice kindness only when she feels appreciated. Her emotional maturity allows her to show up with steadiness, even when circumstances challenge her. This reliability is one of her greatest strengths because it signals that she can maintain connection without being controlled by fluctuations of emotion. Consistency also transforms her communication. A woman who communicates consistently does not send mixed signals. She does not express one thing while desiring another. She does not withdraw affection as punishment, nor does she offer affection out of fear. When she speaks, her words align with her actions. When she agrees to something, she follows through. When she commits to a direction, she walks the path. This coherence creates clarity for others, and clarity breeds respect. Men notice this quickly because inconsistency often leads to confusion, tension, and mistrust, while consistency leads to safety, respect, and admiration. This strength also appears in her personal habits. Whether it is her work ethic, her discipline in caring for herself, or her dedication to growth, consistency shapes her life gradually but powerfully. She does not transform through dramatic gestures, she transforms through small choices repeated daily. The way she carries herself, the way she honors her responsibilities, the way she invests in herself, all of these habits communicate that she is building her life deliberately. not accidentally. Men respect this because it shows that she is not waiting for rescue or relying on external forces to define her destiny. She is actively shaping her own path through consistent action. Consistency also elevates her boundaries. It is one thing to set a boundary once. It is another to uphold it consistently. A woman who is consistent does not waver in the face of pressure or temptation. She does not abandon her values to avoid loneliness. She does not accept behavior today that she rejected yesterday. Her steadiness teaches others how to treat her. It teaches them that she does not negotiate her worth. Men feel this deeply because consistent boundaries create an environment where respect is the natural response. Another powerful aspect of consistency is that it creates emotional gravity. Her energy becomes something others can rely on. She does not bring chaos into rooms. She does not destabilize others with unpredictable moods. Instead, she brings a centeredness that helps others feel grounded simply by being near her. Men recognize this even if they cannot articulate it. Her presence becomes a source of calm, strength, and stability, and this draws them into a higher version of themselves. Consistency also reflects courage. It takes courage to show up every day aligned with one's values. It takes courage to be steady in a world that rewards impulsiveness. It takes courage to uphold one's standards even when no one is watching. A consistent woman lives this courage quietly. She does not seek applause. Her strength is internal, unwavering, and rooted in self-respect. Ultimately, consistency reveals a woman's true strength because it shows that she is guided by principles rather than emotions, discipline rather than impulse, and self-awareness rather than external validation. It shows that she has built herself from within, patiently and intentionally, through choices repeated again and again. And this quiet strength becomes visible to everyone around her, even before she speaks a word. There is a certain presence that cannot be faked, borrowed, or imitated. It is the presence of a woman who is fully in possession of herself, her thoughts, her emotions, her desires, her energy. This self-possession is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is not the need to prove superiority. Instead, it is the quiet confidence of someone who knows who she is and no longer seeks permission to exist as herself. And this depth of inner ownership creates a magnetism so powerful that men feel it before they understand it, drawn toward her not because of what she does, but because of who she is. Self-possession begins with self-awareness. A woman who is self-possessed does not live disconnected from her inner world. She understands why she feels the way she feels. She recognizes her triggers, her patterns, her wounds, her strengths. She does not pretend her shadows do not exist, nor does she let those shadows lead her life. She has learned to hold her emotions without collapsing into them. She has learned to observe her thoughts without believing all of them. She has learned to stand in her truth even when it is uncomfortable. This deep level of self-awareness is rare, and men sense it immediately because she does not move through life unconsciously or reactively. Another mark of self-possession is emotional independence. A woman who is possessed by herself does not seek validation for every step she takes. She does not need constant reassurance to feel valuable. She does not rely on attention to feel alive. She may appreciate affection, admiration, or connection, but she is not sustained by them. She does not crumble when someone disapproves or withdraws. Her emotional center is inside her, not in the hands of others. This independence creates a gravitational pull because men instinctively respect what they cannot easily sway. She becomes magnetic because she is not seeking anything from them, not identity, not permission, not completion. Self-possession also expresses itself in how she handles uncertainty. Many people become unstable when they do not know what comes next. They cling, they panic, they push, or they collapse. A self-possessed woman does not. She has cultivated a trust within herself that allows her to move steadily through moments of confusion or instability. She does not chase for clarity, she creates it. She does not fear endings, she accepts them. She does not distort herself to secure outcomes, she chooses alignment over attachment. This calmness in uncertainty makes her magnetic because it reflects inner strength rather than fear. Her magnetism also comes from her relationship with solitude. A self-possessed woman does not fear being alone. She does not fill her silence with noise. She does not run from herself. She finds nourishment in her own company, clarity in quiet moments, and restoration in solitude. Discomfort with being alone makes her irresistible in a subtle way because she approaches relationships from fullness, not lack. Men feel this immediately. She does not cling. She does not grasp. She does not lose herself. Her ability to be with herself makes her presence feel rare, serene, and deeply grounded. Self-possession reshapes her boundaries as well. A woman who owns herself does not tolerate what violates her peace. She does not stay in situations that shrink her. She does not entertain behavior that insults her intuition. She does not abandon her standards out of fear of losing someone. Her boundaries are not rigid, they are rooted in self-respect. And because she honors herself, others cannot help but honor her too. Men interpret these boundaries not as difficulty, but as strength, an unmistakable sign that she knows her worth without needing to announce it. Her voice also changes. A self-possessed woman speaks clearly, not as a performance, but as an expression of inner truth. She does not hide behind vague words or soft apologies for existing. She speaks with intention, not to dominate, but to express her inner alignment. Her voice carries weight because it comes from a place of self-trust. Men listen differently when she speaks. They sense the difference between words used to please and words used to express truth. Self-possession deepens her presence as well. When she walks into a room, she does not try to be noticed. She simply arrives, and her groundedness does the rest. She moves with a sense of inner direction, not dictated by comparison or insecurity. She does not second-guess herself. She does not shrink. She does not overextend. Her presence is stable, centered, and composed. Men feel this immediately because her energy does not fluctuate based on external forces. This stability is magnetic not because it is loud, but because it is rare. Another part of her magnetism is that she does not treat love as a strategy. She does not use affection to manipulate. She does not perform femininity to gain approval. She does not chase connection out of fear. She loves with intention and presence, not with desperation. And when she chooses someone, it is a conscious choice, not a need. This clarity and self-controlled vulnerability draws men in powerfully because it invites connection without pressure and depth without instability. Ultimately, self-possession is a form of inner freedom. It means she belongs to herself before she belongs to anyone else. It means she stands rooted in her truth, unmoved by the tides of opinion, untouched by emotional chaos. And it is this inner freedom that creates her magnetism. Men do not admire her because she tries to be admirable. They admire her because she is anchored, present, whole, and unshakably herself. There is a difference between feeling emotions and being ruled by them. Every human being experiences frustration, disappointment, desire, anxiety, longing, and fear. But not everyone knows how to hold these emotions without letting them spill into their behavior. Emotional sobriety is the skill of remaining awake within one's emotional landscape, feeling everything but being controlled by nothing. When a woman cultivates this level of inner composure, her presence changes. She becomes someone others instinctively respect because her energy carries a calmness that is rare, dignified, and deeply grounded. Emotional sobriety does not mean emotional suppression. It is not about pretending to be unaffected, becoming cold, or denying one's feelings. Instead, it is the ability to create space between emotion and action. It is the discipline of pausing before reacting, observing before responding, understanding before judging. A woman who practices emotional sobriety honors her emotions, but does not surrender her power to them. This balance allows her to move through life with clarity rather than chaos, and that clarity elevates her presence in every environment she enters. One reason emotional sobriety is so powerful is that it creates predictability. Many people live in cycles of reactivity where their moods dictate their choices. They speak from anger, withdraw from fear, cling from insecurity, or attempt to control from anxiety. But a woman with emotional sobriety does not shift into these states easily. She may feel anger, but she does not speak from it. She may feel fear, but she does not shrink because of it. She may feel sadness, but she does not collapse under its weight. Her steadiness becomes a grounding force not only for herself, but for everyone around her. Men especially feel this difference instantly, because emotional stability feels like a safe harbor in a world full of storms. Emotional sobriety also reveals maturity. When challenges arise, she does not escalate conflict unnecessarily. She does not interpret everything personally. She does not assume the worst. Instead, she steps back, breathes, observes, and responds from a place of understanding. This mature response creates respect. Men instinctively adjust their tone, their approach, and their level of honesty when speaking to a woman who embodies emotional sobriety. They sense that she does not operate from defensiveness or drama. Instead, she operates from discernment, and discernment elevates the quality of every interaction. Another dimension of emotional sobriety is self-regulation. A woman who has learned to regulate her internal world does not rely on external sources to stabilize her. She does not depend on another person to calm her fears, validate her worth, or soothe her insecurities. She has developed the tools to do that herself. This self-regulation frees her from emotional dependency and makes her relationships healthier. She can communicate her needs without turning them into demands. She can express her feelings without overwhelming others. She can set boundaries without anger or panic. Emotional sobriety makes her presence feel steady, balanced, and emotionally safe. This level of composure also changes the way she makes decisions. A woman who is emotionally sober does not make choices from impulse. She does not choose relationships out of loneliness. She does not abandon her values in a moment of weakness. She does not respond to temporary emotions with permanent actions. Her decisions are intentional, rooted in clarity rather than confusion. Men recognize this intentionality and instinctively treat her with more respect because they understand that she is not swayed by momentary attention, empty promises, or inconsistent behavior. Emotional sobriety makes her communication more powerful as well. She does not resort to passive-aggressive comments, emotional manipulation, or dramatic reactions. She speaks directly but calmly, truthfully but compassionately. Her words hold weight because they come from a grounded place. She is not trying to win arguments. She is trying to create understanding. She does not raise her voice to be heard. Her clarity makes her impossible to ignore. This type of communication transforms dynamics because it elevates the emotional quality of every conversation she engages in. Another profound aspect of emotional sobriety is that it strengthens her self-respect. When she refuses to be controlled by her emotions, she also refuses to be controlled by situations that provoke them. She does not remain in environments that repeatedly trigger instability. She does not entertain relationships that thrive on inconsistency. She does not allow herself to be pulled into cycles of emotional chaos. Her stability becomes her standard, and she protects it fiercely. Men notice this immediately. They feel her strength through the way she refuses to lose herself in the name of attachment. Emotional sobriety also deepens her presence. When she enters a space, she carries an aura of calmness that others instinctively respond to. She does not bring frantic energy. She does not bring unresolved chaos. She does not bring emotional unpredictability. Instead, she brings a centeredness that makes people feel more grounded simply by being near her. Men especially feel the difference between a woman who is emotionally reactive and a woman who is emotionally sober. The latter becomes magnetic, not because she tries to attract attention, but because her presence feels like clarity in a noisy world. Ultimately, emotional sobriety elevates her presence because it shows mastery of self. It shows that she has walked through her emotions without letting them rule her. It shows that she has learned to sit with discomfort rather than acting from it. It shows that her inner world is a place of order, reflection, and deep self-awareness rather than turmoil or avoidance. And this level of inner mastery becomes visible long before she speaks, shaping every interaction, every connection, and every room she enters. Purpose is not something she discovers once and then carries like a trophy. It is something she returns to every day, refining it, sharpening it, aligning herself with it until it becomes the inner architecture of her life. A woman rooted in purpose does not move through the world like someone waiting for permission. She moves like someone who knows why she is here, what she is building, and who she is becoming. That sense of direction creates a grounded energy that nothing fleeting can destabilize. When a woman lives with purpose, she becomes less reactive to the noise around her and more responsive to the call within her. Her inner compass replaces the need for external validation, and slowly she begins to navigate life not through emotion or impulse, but through clarity, intention, and higher awareness. A woman anchored in purpose becomes discerning in ways that surprise even her. She stops entertaining situations that drain her energy because she instinctively recognizes that every moment given to something misaligned is a moment taken away from what actually matters. Her purpose becomes a filter, one that separates the meaningful from the meaningless, the necessary from the distracting, the nourishing from the depleting. Suddenly, not everyone gets access to her, Not every invitation receives a yes, and not every opinion is granted influence. She is building something larger than temporary comfort, and that vision naturally eliminates anything that weakens her direction. Purpose also strengthens a woman's emotional landscape. Instead of being pulled into the highs and lows of every passing feeling, she learns to observe the movements of her emotions without allowing them to control her actions. Purpose gives her a horizon to look toward when the inner storm rises. It reminds her of what is important, what is worth her energy, and what deserves her silence. When emotions attempt to derail her, her sense of meaning puts everything back into perspective. She doesn't suppress her feelings, she simply refuses to be ruled by them. Emotional maturity grows not from detachment, but from clarity about who she is and what she is here to do. People sense when a woman has purpose. It is not something she announces, it is something she embodies. Her presence carries a quiet intensity and unmistakable direction. She does not force influence, her groundedness creates it. Men especially notice this shift. A woman with purpose is not easily swayed by charm promises or performances. She values consistency over sweet words, alignment over attraction, action over potential. This makes her magnetic in a way that is rare. She is not looking to be saved, entertained, or emotionally distracted. She is looking to expand, evolve, and build. And that seriousness, that independence of mind makes her unforgettable. Purpose also changes how she loves. She no longer seeks relationships to fill a void or soothe an insecurity. She seeks partnership that enhances her path. Love becomes something she shares from fullness, not emptiness. Her boundaries strengthen, not to push people away, but to protect the space where her growth is happening. She becomes generous yet not depleted, open yet not unguarded, supportive yet not self-sacrificing. Her love expands because it is nourished by direction, not desperation. Relationships become healthier when they are an extension of purpose, not an escape from lack. A woman grounded in purpose experiences a shift in her confidence as well. Instead of trying to prove her worth, she begins to live it. She stops chasing outcomes and starts focusing on alignment. She becomes comfortable with being misunderstood because she knows not everyone will see her vision, and she also knows that those meant to walk with her will understand without needing explanation. Her confidence comes from internal certainty, not external applause. She no longer needs to broadcast her value. Her actions speak, her discipline speaks, her consistency speaks. Everything about her begins to communicate a message that words cannot fully capture. Purpose brings power, but it also brings peace. It simplifies her life. It strips away the unnecessary and highlights what truly matters. A woman who knows her purpose stops fearing loss because she understands that everything aligned with her path will remain, and everything that leaves is making space for something better suited to her evolution. She becomes unshakable not because she is emotionless, but because she is guided by something larger than mood or circumstance. Her mission becomes the foundation beneath her feet, giving her strength in moments where others would collapse. And as she continues to grow into her purpose, something profound happens. The world begins to respond to her differently. Opportunities find her. People respect her without her demanding it. Stability replaces chaos. Alignment replaces confusion. She becomes a force not loud, not aggressive, but immovable in her clarity. Her presence starts to influence environments, relationships, and decisions simply because she carries a sense of meaning everywhere she goes. Purpose becomes the quiet fire inside her, the energy that shapes her identity, the anchor that holds her steady through every season, and the reason she rises each day with a deeper, more grounded understanding of who she is becoming.